excited to bring our episode to you today with the founder of Everbowl. He and I have been running in the same circles, but this is the first chance he and I've gotten a chance to meet. They created a really cool brand that is bringing acai bowls to the masses. He's also doing quite a bit in the way of verticalizing the build out of the restaurants to make it simpler and less expensive to continue to build out and grow. Really interesting ideas that he's got, including managing some of the supply chain from start to finish if you want it. Really innovative concept. I would encourage you to check out my conversation with Jeff. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Julian. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We wrote the North Star point of sale solution for multi-units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now on to the episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. As I like to say each and every time, I know you guys have got lots of choices, so thanks for hanging out this week. Today, these are fun stories because I've got a multiple-time entrepreneur that's on the show. Lots of pokers in the fire, but I'm going to let Jeff talk a little bit about kind of where his background came from a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of his restaurant venture that we want to kind of share with our listeners. So, Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners out there?
Well, thanks, Jeremy. Honored to be here. Obviously, as we talked offline, we met in a little while ago anyway. But I appreciate what you're doing for the community, and I always enjoy coming on. So, I'm Jeff Fenster, girl dad, most importantly. I got a 20-year-old and a 14-year-old that are the apple of my eye and why I do what I do. But ultimately, I call myself now a serial entrepreneur because it sounds better than a degenerate entrepreneur.
You're unemployable. Is that what that means?
Thank you. Yes. I'm a bad employee. You will never want to hire me. And if you do, you're going to hate me. So I don't follow directions very well and I don't see boxes. It's not that I try to paint outside a box. I just don't see the box. I don't understand boxes. And I went to law school, sports agent for a little bit and found out really quickly that back before the internet and Zoom, that was the job I didn't want to do. And so I kind of got thrust into business. Sales, was very successful at a small little company called ADP, which is a massive payroll company. And 6 months there, I was the number one sales rep in the country, made a lot of money, was able to use my relationship game of how I do relationship-based selling and solution-based selling, and was successful. And so got into a fight with them over $15,000 in my pay. Out of law school, I made $38,000 a year base pay,
Oh,
which,
wow.
by the way, in California is less than a 15-year-old makes a minimum wage. But neither here nor there. Disagreement. And at 25, I basically told them to go F themselves and quit and started my first company called iChecks, because the whole thing was I didn't like the company I worked for and I'd never heard the word entrepreneur. Didn't know what that was. Growing up, it was business owner or employee, and business owners tended to have family businesses and things like it. It was just never something I ever considered doing. And so out of spite, I started my first company at 25, and 18 years later, I guess, here we are.
And how many different businesses? Just go through them before we jump into Everbowl, because you and I talked pre-recording, and for those
Sure.
that are longtime listeners, they know typically I'll talk for 5 or 10 minutes with the guest before I hit record.
Okay. Yeah, of course. No, ultimately, there's been a lot of companies. My first company that I officially started was iChecks, which was a payroll company that turned into Canopy HR, which was a payroll and HR company. And we built an HRIS platform, if you will, like an app. This was back in 2007. So when the iPhone came out a few years later and apps became the thing, we built an app and we digitized that old filing cabinet folder of manila folders that had people's applications and everything inside. I started a recruiting agency as well at the same time of the Great Recession, because people were unemployed and it was hard to find talent. So I felt like I could help my current customer base at my payroll company with increasing their employee count by having a recruiting agency. And I made money the more employees they had. So it was self-serving or vertically integrated, not knowing what I was doing. And so I was able to sell both of those two companies. And those were my first two successful exits. Then I thought I walked on water, and I started about four companies that were complete failures. I call them learnings. I call them investment into getting my MBA. And then I started a digital marketing agency with Neil Patel. He's a famous digital marketer. We worked with a lot of really cool clients. Sold that in 2015. Along that path, I invested and started a handful of small companies. Some were mediocre, nothing crazy or extremely successful. Some died. Some were great, and great being they didn't die. That was the definition. Sold our digital marketing agency clients in 2015, and I tried to retire. I was 32 at the time, and my wife kicked me out of the house because I was driving her and the kids crazy and said, "You better go do something because you can't sit here all day. I have things to do, and you're too high strung." And I was visiting a previous digital marketing client in Poway, California. And I went to a Smoothie King to get a smoothie. And the owner of the Smoothie King was actually taking equipment out of the store and into his van. And I said, "Are you closed?" And he said, "No, but we're closed on Friday." This was a Wednesday, and this was in August of 2016. And I said, "Do you mind telling me why you're closing?" And he said, "I'm retiring. I tried to sell the business." And I'd always thought about opening up an acai bowl store because I loved acai bowls and I was importing them into my house from Chicago, getting acai from Chicago. And there
Wow.
was San Diego, really. And I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. I'm afraid of disease. So I like to eat healthy and prevent illness and do these things on my own. And I was also considering opening an office for consulting. And, the things I was already doing, business consulting. So I was like, I can get an office. I don't have to sit at home. And I was like, you know what? What if I open a restaurant and I put my office in the back so I don't have to pay rent? I could just literally write everything off and have my acai bowl kitchen in the front, serve some customers, and not really care about the restaurant, but then do my business in the back. And this kind of thing happened. So I said, "Do you mind giving me the landlord's name and number?" He did. And I called the landlord, and 4 days later, I signed a lease for the location in Poway without a name or a menu or any idea what the hell I was going to do. But my logic
That's
was,
incredible.
if if the Smoothie King lasted 20 years, worst case, I just sell smoothies. I mean, I know how to make those, and I'm gonna have an office anyway. So, okay, for $4,500 a month, I can have an office and have this thing, and let's do it. And so I just kind of signed it on a whim, and that was the birth of Everbowl, which was not called Everbowl for a while. And then after I built my first Everbowl, I cost me way too much to build it, so I started a construction fabrication company called We Build, and built every Everbowl since, and now build for brands all across the country. And because I import superfoods and they're very expensive, I realized that I had to control that. So I went down to Brazil in 2017 and started buying direct from the factories and my pitaya from Vietnam and Nicaragua. And I have an import company, and now I manufacture and have all of our own base flavors and granolas and stuff for Everbowl. Not granola anymore, but we used to. And that's called Unevolved Products. I have a show called The Jeff Fenster Show, which is on hiatus right now because I am unable to do it at the level I want to. So after the first season, we're paused, but we'll bring it back once my life slows down. And I'm a girl dad, which is a business of its own.
I love it. Yeah,
Yes,
I got two girls of my own and two boys, so life is busy in my house. And
more. I
this
want to give you a hug.
this weekend, I've got my son's graduating from college, and then in 2 weeks, my daughter's graduating from high school.
Well,
So yeah,
congratulations, Jeremy.
life is full. Life is very full.
Congratulations.
So, for those that are not familiar, and again, being a girl dad, I got a daughter. My 18-year-old daughter loves herself some acai bowls.
Sure.
I guess educate our listeners that might be in a place that they haven't been able to experience acai, as a product category. We actually had Ryan. I don't know if you know Ryan Black from
I know him very well.
Amazon.
He's
He was on the
been a
show
friend for
maybe
years.
a year ago. So he was on a year ago. He did a little bit of education. But for those that are not familiar with what an acai bowl is, or kind of what is that concept? Because it's a little smoothie, but it's not. I know what it is. My daughter, it's on my freaking credit card more often than I care to admit at the one up the street. But yeah, why don't you educate our listeners a little bit what is an Everbowl and kind of what makes the product unique?
Sure. Well, acai and Everbowl are a little different, although I like the fact that we're calling an acai bowl an Everbowl. Our menu's actually expanding, so we're going away from just being so heavy on just superfood bowls. But think of it like a smoothie bowl. If you think about the transition, we had ice cream, then we had frozen yogurt, which was better for you, and then we have juicing, and then we have smoothies, and now we have smoothie bowls. And so if you take a smoothie and you turn it into a yogurt, that's basically what these bowls are with toppings, and the toppings hopefully are going to be a little bit better for you than just M&Ms and junk, but you can put that on there if you have to. So acai specifically is just a very, very nutrient dense powerhouse of antioxidants that comes from a very unique remote place in the world of the rainforest mostly in Brazil. There's a little bit in Peru and a little bit in Colombia, but predominantly you're getting 98% of the world's acai coming from this region, mostly in the Para region up in the northeast of Brazil. And what makes it very unique is its high level of antioxidants, and it's so good for you. Think how, everyone says how good blueberries are.
Yep.
It's even better for you than a blueberry, and it looks like a blueberry, except it grows on a tree and not on the ground. And there's a big seed in the middle. So there's very little pulp and juice. So each berry that is the same size as a blueberry has way less consumptionable
Edible
value.
product. Yeah.
Yeah, there's less,
Edible
there's
product.
less,
Yeah.
less fruit. And it doesn't survive unless you freeze it, which is why it's served frozen cold. So if you go to Brazil, you can have it fresh. You can have it warm. They even use it on fish as like a puree on top. Like you could have like a jam here, but you can't pick it and then not have it frozen. It will die within 48 hours. So the ability for us to not have it as a frozen variety here, as a smoothie or as a bowl or as a powder, is impossible. And that's also what makes it unique, because it is so dense and so high. If you actually know who the first brand to ever bring in the United States was, Mona V. If you guys remember that
Okay.
MLM from 25 years ago, Mona V, they used to bring in acai, and that was one of the first companies to bring in acai ever. Another friend of mine in the industry, Marshall, his uncle, I think, started Mona V, and he was down there on something for religion. He was down there, and he's the one who found acai and brought it in from Mona V. And so he's one of the first people to ever bring it in. And then Ryan
That's
Black
awesome.
came and brought it in. So Ryan is great. Is a friend of mine forever. We don't do business together, even though we don't really compete. Both jokingly say we want to buy the other company, and we dance. His company's huge as far as importing of product, and we're more of retail. But that's what acai is, and so Everbowl is more than acai. We're
Yep.
acai and a bunch of other superfood bowls, and we're not a healthy restaurant. We're a better for you restaurant, and I think there's a big distinction there. We're trying to meet everybody where they are. The impetus behind why I eat acai bowls was because they mask quality food that tastes good. I don't like veggies when I was a kid. I didn't like fruits. I like junk food. And there's a reason why all candy, by the way, is color coded and looks like fruit colors because we're attracted to it as a species. Glucose is required, right? So the sugar, the sweetness. And so when my oldest, who's 20, she was 3, we were trying to get her to eat zucchini, a couple bites of
Okay.
zucchini or 4. And my wife and her was like, "You gotta eat your zucchini." And then she could have Cool Whip, which was her dessert, like a couple scoops of Cool Whip. And she was like arguing with my wife, like, "I'm not going to eat that, whatever." And finally, my wife got annoyed and I was like, "All right, I'll do it." So I put the Cool Whip on the zucchini and fed it to her and she ate it. And I realized you can hide nutrition with taste. So Everbowl was designed to help people eat better by meeting them where they are in their nutritional and health journey. So if you eat only junk food, I'm going to give you junk ish, but it's a little bit better. And I'm going to coax you that way. And that's the whole spirit of Everbowl. And so Everbowl's meant to solve 4 main problems. And I believe all businesses and restaurants need to have a target of what we're doing. Are we improving something? Are we creating something? Or are we solving something? And I'm trying to solve why the average American eats fast food more than 3.2 times a week. And we're killing ourselves with how we eat. And so I can change your eating behavior if I can make it affordable, filling, delicious, and accessible. Because that's basically what fast food is. It's affordable, or it used to be before we went crazy in pricing, but it used to be affordable. It's filling. The Big Mac, supersize it. It's filling because it's a lot of food. It's everywhere and it's tasty. I mean, it's fake food that they made tasty, right? It doesn't go bad.
Yep.
So it created the ability for it to taste really good. So we're fighting a good fight here because we also don't get the fun subsidies that the government gives for fruit. They give it for burgers and cheese and farming and here in America. So we have a more expensive product we've got to do. And that's the whole goal here of Everbowl is how do we make this a fun brand, help people choose better. And the good news is, like Wayne Gretzky said, skate to where the puck's going to be. Your daughter, my daughter, that generation, they don't like McDonald's. They
Yep.
actually know the
100,
value.
100%.
I
Yeah,
grew up at it. Like my family would sit at the dinner table in the 80s and we would have McDonald's as dinner. The thought of that today is
absolutely.
like insane. And sorry, McDonald's, but I'm coming after you, or take, they got to do better and we've got to do better. So that's really what Everbowl is. And Ryan Black's part of that goal and so are we. And he's great. And Samazon's great. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, talk us through the concept itself. I think I went to one. You guys used to have one in RSM, right?
Yes.
Santa Margarita.
Yes.
So that was the very first time I ever walked into an Everbowl. My best friend lives walking distance from that store. We were walking around that shopping mall. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go check this place out, and I went and got a bowl. It was probably 8-9 years ago. In that same shopping center, there's a Home Depot on the other side of that shopping center.
That's correct. Yeah. And it
So
was a
I
Menchie's.
know. Okay, I so know exactly where that is. I've been to the concept. That's the only store I have been to. I'll be fully transparent. That's the only store that I've walked, set foot in. Now that I moved to Dallas, it's a little bit harder to find. I'm sure there's
I got
some on the
9
other
in
side of town.
Dallas. No, we got 9
I,
in Dallas. So no
okay,
excuses, Jeremy. We're going to have a talk after this. There's no
okay, we'll have
excuses.
to figure out how to make my way there. But
Yeah.
talk people through the concept. Counter service, relatively quick, but super healthy. So I guess walk through what is the concept like? How much of it's on prem? How much of it's off prem? Kind of talk through the unit and how you guys are doing sales wise and whatnot.
So conceptually, think about it like this. For the older crowd, think Baskin Robbins, but better for you. So we've been able to now, we used to blend everything to order, but we've been obviously with throughput, with speed, with 3PD, with the movement of humans and how fast we need things, the Instagram world that we're in, we need it in 10 seconds or less. We've created a way to take our bowls, pre-blend them ahead of time and put them in 3-gallon, what looks like ice cream tubs. So we were able to scoop to order so you can get through the store very quick because the challenge we ran into at the beginning was it takes 40 seconds to load the blender. It takes 45 seconds to a minute and 25 to blend the thing. And then I got to put it in the bowl and then I got to give you toppings and it's a 4 or 5 minute experience. If you're the 8th person in line, you're waiting a long time for a smoothie or a bowl. Today, I can get through the line much faster. We can give it to you just as fast as a Chipotle can, fill your taco bowl. We can create your Everbowl, whatever variety. We have 7 to 10 base flavors that are available. You can mix and match them, so you don't have to just have acai. And we mix and match them with things like pitaya, Blue Magic, which is spirulina, and it's mixed with some fun flavors: coconut, vanilla, chocolate, mango. And a whole host of others we're coming out with this summer. I don't know when this is going to air, so I don't want to drop names that aren't here yet. But the point of it is to make fun, flavorful bowls that you like and allow you to take them to go. And then the toppings, you get to load them with the toppings like you would in a yogurt place, like where you see them. And we top them for you. You don't touch it, but you can choose. We have a whatever bowl, so you can choose it. You can pick one of our existing. And that's the spirit of where Everbowl started. We also have smoothies, and again, we're expanding into other varieties as well, from the salads and sandwiches and wraps to other things. So you're going to have access to those things. But the concept itself was, again, not fast food, good food fast, and that's kind of where we want, or better food fast, if you will. And we're the better for you. So we're trying to meet everyone where they are and help you in that journey. You should definitely try Everbowl or one of the other players in our category. I don't compete with them. I'm competing with McDonald's. So if you like one of the air quote competitors to Everbowl because we sell the same thing, please go there and go there a lot. It's better for you. It's going to help
Hmm.
be a better version of you. And the goal of the business is simplicity. I want no cooking. I want food where isn't like, a Big Mac tastes the same every McDonald's you go to. I need our bowls to taste the same, or our smoothies or our products to taste the same everywhere we go to. I need to be able to train and empower the youth to work at our store. So 15 to 25-year-olds should be able to manage and run the store. My 20-year-old, when she was 14, I could train a 14 or 15-year-old not to run the store, but to operate and treat customers. I can do that in a couple hours. So it's not hard. It's not sophisticated labor. It doesn't require, very specialty individuals who have a degree or are trained in a specific thing. It's a great entry job for friend makers. We're bowlologists. We're here to make friends in the community. We're community driven. So all of our stores, like in RSM, we want to hire in the community. We want to support the community. We work with the schools. Like we worked with the high school there. We worked with the middle schools. We sponsor the teams. We want to be part of it. It should be your store, because Everbowl is for everybody. The food that we're providing comes, but then we want it to be community stores, not a third place like what Starbucks was doing, because you're not going to stay there all day, but familiar faces. You should see the youth of the community. You should feel like it's a meeting point on the go for you to see other friends and community members. Cheap. And when I say cheap, I mean as a business. It should be cash on cash return accretive for everybody, because the idea of spending $1 million to build these other boxes to then
Yes.
make a couple $100,000, it's just a lot of risk.
Hmm.
With my company, we build our entire spirit of this is to reduce the cost of build out. So you could build one of our Acai competitors, or you could build 1.5 to 2 stores of ours for the same price. So you're going to make money faster, which means you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I'm in debt to my ears. I'm never going to make money. Like, the goal should be to make money, and it should be
Hmm.
able to make money in a small footprint without having to sell a ton, and be able to give back to the community. And because it's a business, and we got to remember what our businesses are. So I control our food costs with Unevolve. I control the build out costs with WeBuild. So we're fighting every day to make sure that we can defend against inflation, defend against the macro events, and empower our franchisees, our business owners, our extensions to thrive. And if they thrive, the community thrives. And how cool it is to see Everbowl become part of these communities. And when I go to a store in a different community and it feels different, but the food's the same. And that's when I know we're winning. And so ultimately, that's what we're after on the business side. So if you're a customer, which you are now, Jeremy, because we're going to keep opening up
I
policy.
got to go find my local.
uh, yes. As a customer, though, you want to feel it needs to feel comfortable. It needs to feel like however you feel in your community, it should feel in the store. It won't look necessarily like your community, but it'll feel like it, because your community is the staff. And then on an ownership side, it should be something of a business where you should be able to beat the cash on cash return of other opportunities. And it's a very low entry point. I mean, there's not a lot of franchises that, a lot of the time for under 200 grand, you've covered absolutely everything. You're in business. A lot of times, like the FTDs will give you the real numbers, but we've had stores open for under 100 grand all the way to, you know, over 200 if it's a brand new from the ground build up. But these second gen restaurant opportunities, like the former Menchie's, you can turn these things over pretty quick. And with WeBuild, our fastest turnaround is 23 days from lease signing. We were open and selling bowls. So
Wow, that's
that's
incredible.
speed. And we control a lot of the things, and we have all the railways getting built, and it's fun, man. It's a community of people who are happy. And the best thing I'm going to leave you with on business, which is actually what I didn't realize until after I had my own stores, and I had 28 of my own before I franchised. I know the store level stuff is when someone's having a bad day, they don't usually come and eat better for you food. So the customer is happier versus in some types of food, that's the mad, I'm upset, I'm going to
Yeah,
go eat.
don't go own a dive bar, right? They're
Right.
coming there when they're
Yeah.
commiserating something, right?
So as I tell my staff, just you don't have to make their day. You just have to be part of it and don't ruin it, right? And
Uh-huh.
if we mess up, give it to them. I mean, it's an acai bowl here. We're not curing cancer. It's not a filet mignon steak that costs us $100. Let the customer have a great day, and let's just be a part of
Uh-huh.
it. business is based on two rules: make friends and have fun. And that's what every employee who works at the company knows. Those are the only two rules to work here: is make friends and have fun, treat everyone like a friend, and have some fun. And let's help everybody, be a better version of themselves.
That's awesome. Real quick, just because I just want to clarify, it is primarily a meal replacement, or it is a full meal. It is not an add-on. When I think of Baskin Robbins, you said, for the older generation, Baskin Robbins is a dessert.
Sure.
It's a secondary opportunity. I would, I guess, for me, anytime I've ever experienced it, it's been a full meal. It's been a
Oh,
lunch. It's
absolutely.
been a breakfast. It's been something like that. So I just wanted to clarify that
Yes.
before we got too far away from that.
I was just using Baskin Robbins for how the business flow. When you walk in, there's dipping cabinet. You pick your ice cream, and then if you want a topping, you get it. Here, you're going to pick your
Mhm.
bases, and then the toppings were going to be on top. So I was just trying to help people
Yeah.
visualize, but it is absolutely not just a dessert. We do have dessert items. We have an Everwich, which is an unbelievable reinvention of the ice cream cookie sandwich, and we're coming out with some fun other stuff. But it could be a snack or a meal replacement, or a smoothie add-on after a workout with the proteins. Like, we fit all the different markets, but our busiest time of day is lunch. That's predominantly when we serve the most product. Breakfast, and then it dwindles. Like, we have a good night crowd if it's a college area, and college campuses or and near colleges are fantastic. But this is a grocery anchored type box that you can get into a very small footprint. Smallest stores are 400 square feet. And we turn a lot of business through 400 because you don't need the tables and chairs. We don't need hoods and ovens and grease traps unless it's locally required for the jurisdiction. But our business model doesn't require it, and there is there's not cooking things from scratch, and there's not a lot of sophistication in the preparation. So everything comes pre-prepared because of how it has to be, and there we go.
Well, and the thing that I love about your guys' concept, Jeff, is the idea that you guys are hitting the demographic that demographic that so many other brands that are out here are looking to figure out, how do I get in front of that 18 to 25, 18 to 30-year-old? Because yes, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, they're not resonating with those, with your daughter's age, my daughter, my son's age, consumers. Today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant Technologies Incorporated. They are the leaders in automated cooking oil management. And if you're not familiar with them, they've been on the show a few times to share some of the unique and cool things that they've been doing in the oil management space. They have an end-to-end closed-loop automated system that helps deliver, monitor, filter, collect, and recycle your cooking oil. Sounds like a lot. It's because they do a ton to help clean up one of the dirtiest jobs and most dangerous jobs in your kitchen. You can check them out by visiting RTI-inc.com or by calling 888-779-5314. They've already helped over 45,000 customers in the United States with their cooking oil, so clearly they're doing something right. Now back to the episode. And so the fact that you guys are there, really serving that clientele, especially on college campuses, and doing it in a way that truly your guys' vision to kind of change the world is awesome. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. No, it's important, and we're doing our part. And I think that as we are able to change the behavior of the consumer, it's forcing the McDonald's and the Burger Kings to rethink what they're offering. And at a minimum, they're starting to offer more improvements around
Mhm.
better food. The McPlant, I don't know if it's still around, but I know when I tried that. The challenge for them is, you're an unhealthy restaurant. It's hard to get healthy people to go there to experience it for the first time. Healthy restaurant can get someone who's unhealthy to come easier than an unhealthy restaurant can get someone who is healthy to come.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
we're trying to do that by, because I got a lot of flack for a few of the decisions over the years where I brought in things that are not healthy or better for you, junk, not M&Ms, but a better M&M, if you will. It
Yeah.
wasn't chocolate, but I'm just giving you an example. And I struggled with it for a while until I realized everybody is at a different spot in their journey, right? And so if you are eating, and we're all about Kaizen and getting 1% better and improvements every time, every day, just get a little bit better, right? So if you're never eating fruit at all in your diet, and I have to sell you a product or give you an offering that is delicious to you and not very good for you, but it has one blueberry on it, well, that's a small micro improvement. It's not something that I would want to eat necessarily, or you may want to eat, but that individual does. And guess what? They're feeling better. They got a blueberry. So if tomorrow they come in and they get 2 blueberries, and then the next day they get a strawberry, and over time we bridge them from where they were to where now they're eating better, then we're doing our part. And I don't think it's right of customers or competitors or anyone to judge any brand that is trying to do it. So I applaud McDonald's for trying its best to get better. The McPlant and
Mhm.
all that. we laugh and make jokes, but I actually think it's great because their consumer may one day decide, you know what, today I'm going to try it. And it may not be as good as it could be, but for them, that's a step. And we have to help each other all get out of this epidemic in America of obesity and heart disease and stroke and all these things that are being tied to lifestyle, nutrition and diet. And we eat more than we work out, no matter who you are. So every day you're going
Yep.
to eat. So let's help people do better because whether it's a food desert or it's, you work and you only have a 30-minute window or you didn't grow up in an environment that was educating you or gave you the opportunity to develop the eating habits, people have to do better and we have to help everybody. And so if the brands that are opening restaurants in every town in America don't take some onus in that goal, then we're part of the problem. And it's funny because I say that to tell you that we have to add less than better for you food in order to accomplish that because I got to get you into the store.
Yep.
And that's the way you
Yeah,
do
you
it.
got to make a name for yourself. And I would say that, especially traveling as much as I have for the kids, the last couple of months with sports and whatnot, it's like you get certain places, you're like, there's no options.
Yeah.
It's McDonald's, it's Burger King, it's Pizza Hut, it's crap. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to eat healthy as a family in some of these places because you're traveling, and when you're there, then you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to this place because I have no idea what it is. To your point, I applaud you guys for taking on that challenge. You talked a little bit about unit economics, Jeff. I'd love for you to kind of just talk a little bit about, we'd love for people to explore the brand and see if it fits for them. What is that going to look like? What can they expect? Where are you guys looking to grow? I guess give the overall footprint. You scolded me for not knowing that I had some stores here in Dallas. I will be going to check it out. I apologize.
Download the app and get on the rewards program. That way you always know. Jeremy, with all the new things coming, it's important.
Yeah, you may get a selfie from me out in front of the store next time I go, but talk a little bit about, where are you guys at geographically, and kind of, are you guys a master franchise type group where you got to build 6 or 8 of them? Are you guys single store? Talk to me a little bit about kind of your guys' franchising model, because I know that's part of your guys' growth strategy.
Yeah. So we're from Hawaii to Boston and Florida to Oregon. We're in 32 states and growing. We have 100 locations and growing. Airports, college campuses, opening our first 2 airports this year. Stadiums. For the non-trad world, we do festivals and pop-ups, and then traditional stores. We have all of the above as far as we do have some master franchisees. We don't traditionally do many of those anymore. We do what's called, area developers, where they'll pick up 3, 4, 5, 10, however many stores make sense based on their internal, corporate apparatus to support that, or if they're, but it doesn't matter whether you start with 1 or you start with 20. The thing I hated about franchising, why I never was going to do it, was it felt like a vehicle only for the successful, wealthy to continue to expand their wealth, but not for the every man and woman in America who wants to take control of their financial freedom and join a franchise. I also didn't like franchising because I felt like there were winners and losers. And I was like, well, how do you be on a team when half are losing or 20% are losing? Like, how do you do that? And then you see the statistics, 9 out of 10 restaurants fail, 7 out of 10 franchises succeed over the same duration of time. It's like, okay, franchising is a lot better for a lot of reasons. And had I known this at the start and there was franchises that I was aware of, I probably would have franchised and not opened Everbowl. It was a lot less brain damage and work, but I didn't know. And then here I am. So we started franchising after COVID in 2020, basically 2021, started in 2016, all corporate, was just going to do them myself, grow and not ever do it. For franchising as the core thing, like we're trying to open in every community in America. Oh, okay. If you have a community, but for us, it's about winning locations. Now we have data. We didn't at first, so I was signing leases based on gut. I'm not perfect.
There's a reason why so many restaurants fail, because they go, everybody's going to want to show up to my place. And I'm not picking on you, but all too often people are like, dude, this is going to be a great shopping center. It's like, yeah, the demographic that you guys are looking for is not in this area. So how are you going to actually make money?
Well, take the RSM location. What hurt us was the ingress egress, the time of day that the consumer was going, that we would need them. It was a pain in the ass to get to our center because
your store was a pain in the ass to get to.
100%.
I've been in that shopping center 100 times. Yeah, you got
it. Traffic's going this way at that time. They had to make this U-turn. It was a long light. It was hard to get. Parking was weird. And if you're rushing,
parking, you always had to loop around and get into that back. I've been to that Rubio's in that corner, of that shopping center multiple times in my life.
Yes. How do you account for that when you don't know what you're doing?
Yep. Yeah.
Because on it, and then we opened in a town in San Diego called Hillcrest. And the demographics on paper were amazing. High household income, high population density. But only one Jersey Mike's failed in San Diego also, and it was in the same community. It's because the demographics can't always tell the whole story, right? You've got to learn about it. And I didn't have data back then either. And I wasn't even thinking about data. I was like, well, I can build these so cheap. These are mine. I'm just going to open them. Boom, 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 boom. And Year one, we opened 4. Year two, 14 more stores. So in the first 24 months, we had 18 stores. You think we were paying attention to real estate data? We were not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not at all. I was putting dots on a map and saying, I want to go here. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that. So today we have a much better real estate strategy. We have a real estate committee internally. We'll tell you no, even though we don't make any money until you open a store. So it's not in our financial interest to tell you no, but it is because we want you to win. We need you to win. I want to sell more franchises to my existing franchisees. I don't want to always have to sell a new franchise to a new person and none of my existing franchisees want to grow. That means we're not winning for them. Our large franchisee with open boxes started with 1 and now has 18 and just bought 7 more. I like that story. And I like
That's
that
great.
story because that means that they're winning. And so we better have win. We're opening a store. I don't know when this is going to air, but this week, our second store in Hawaii, that franchisee is crushing it. And they're looking for a third one now. It's the spirit of that which drives our decision making. And that decision making on the real estate side is so critical because location means a lot more than just how many people are right around you. And it's ingress, egress, it's time of
Ingress,
day.
egress. It's walking traffic versus driving
Absolutely.
traffic. There's so many
Visibility.
things that people don't think about it. Yeah.
We opened a store in Tampa and on paper it looked great, but there was a big box that blocked the view of this tiny little store inline that unless you had the right angle, you didn't see it. So half the people that were going to that grocery anchored center, which on a piece of paper looked wonderful, they wouldn't see the store. So even if I tell you it's there, I have to communicate with you for you to know that it's there. That's the challenge versus the walk or buy traffic and co-tenancy because of the veto, right? You got to think about co-tenancy of you and me want to go to lunch right now. I want an acai bowl. You want a burger.
Yeah.
We can go to
Or a
Everbowl.
Jersey Mike sub just next door. It's like, hey, you can do that. There's a buddy of mine opened a poke place here in town. I live in a small little 10,000 person town. Same idea. He's like, dude, nobody wanted to go to poke and they hadn't built out the rest of the center. So he ultimately failed after 3 years, not because he didn't do well, but you can only have poke all so often. And there was nothing else to go. And so all the business users and all the users in town were like, dude, I don't feel like poke and there's nothing else there. There's not a burger place. There's not a wing place. There's not a sandwich place. Then now it's a Mediterranean place and a burger place. And
it'll keep rotating. And then you have the parking issue, not just parking spots, but we have a spot in the center with a Chick-fil-A. I can tell you at lunchtime, that Chick-fil-A line wraps around and blocks ingress, egress to our side of the parking lot. It's a pain in the ass.
Yep.
So yes, I'm going to get the diehard customers to deal with it. But if you're in a hurry and you're in the car with my daughter and she goes, Dad, can we go to Everbowl? I'm like, honey, we're in a hurry. We don't have time. She's like, yeah, I'll call in. I know, but to get through the parking lot, and it's just later. You just lost a customer because of Chick-fil-A's parking. Chick-fil-A's in and out drive-through line. So you've got to really
not
pay
because
attention to
the
all of this.
unit wasn't successful, but you had a hard time because of time, the ingress, egress, and I love that.
Yeah.
So if people want to learn more, are they jumping on the site? Are they calling you? I'm assuming that you got a system for this. So where would you send them to go figure out if this is the right fit for them?
Absolutely. So definitely go to everbowl.com and take a look. Fill out the form. Obviously, today we do have a system. I will say we're still a teenager though, and it's important. So you can choose when you want to join a brand, right? You join a McDonald's today if you're lucky enough to get one, because I don't think you can. You don't have a lot of room to grow, but they have everything figured out. You're not going to have any. Gosh, they don't know what they're doing over there. You can join a 5-unit chain that decided to franchise early, and it's going to be a lot of like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to know how to tie our shoes? And then you could join kind of us, which is a young adult brand. We finally hit that 100 area, which is a hard thing to do. So it means we're stable enough, but we're a teenager. I mean, some days we sound like grownups and look like them. And sometimes we sound like a child and have no experience on things because we have to learn as we go too. So there are going to be things that we are going to run into that is going to be frustrating, or we're going to have to work on it together. But the growth opportunity to grow with us is there because you could go from 1 store to 50 with a brand of our size. So it's really about where your risk tolerance is and what you're looking for. If you want conservative stability, none of that, no growth, then you want that. If you want hyper growth and you want to bet, you probably want to go even smaller than us. And if you want somewhere in the middle where you want to be part of it, you can see it, you want to be a part of the fraternity of Everbowl franchise owners and help us grow it, then our size is a good size. So I think that's one element. But go to our website, ask questions. I say this to any potential franchisee I've ever spoken to. Scrutinize the hell out of it. Find a reason not to open an Everbowl. Seriously, pick it apart. And keep talking yourself out of doing it. And we're going to do the same about you because it is a marriage. And we had to learn that also. Just like locations, we have selected the franchisees. Not that they're bad franchisees, because that's not fair to them. It wasn't a good fit.
Values aren't aligned.
Expectation was.
Yeah.
Your expectation, if you want to make $2 million out of one of our stores, we're not going to deliver for you.
Yeah.
We're just not. And if you want to come in and do it your way and not have any of the situations where you're going to have to follow the brand standard, even though you don't like it, we're not for you either. And
Yep.
conversely, if you want to be part of it though, and you want to, your ethos is tied to our values and you're about helping everyone get better and you like healthier and better for you food and you want a community driven thing and you like the idea of opening many boxes or even one and being part of it and driving it, then you should definitely, because there you can make a lot of money with us, but you can also fail like you can with everybody
Hmm.
else. We're gonna do everything we can to prevent that. So if we say no on a piece of real estate, even though you know your community better than we do, and you know this is the perfect spot, trust me when I tell you, I've said yes to that before, and they never perform as well as what we do now because our last 30 boxes are our best cohort of boxes when we use the data. So we're going to help you. That's why you join a franchise. We are here to support everything you're doing from real estate to marketing to hiring and training and operations to food control, cost controls to labor controls to scheduling to how you build out this thing so you can empower yourself to make money because forget the food and forget why we do this and why we started. It's a business
Yep.
and we have to take that seriously. And I want you to make money if you join us. And so we're going to work together. And I want you to challenge and push us too. The Egg McMuffin and the Big Mac were created by franchisees. So we want your ideas as well. We want you to
Hmm.
in the areas of innovation and disruption. And that's what this is cool. So definitely go to our website. We're going to take you through the process. You're going to speak to someone on our team. You're going to speak to other franchisees. We're going to go through that process, have you fill out the form. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. And it's a lower investment. So my goal would be to help you open two for the price of one. That's our goal and help you amortize expenses and really own markets. And, you know, I don't know where everyone is living, but I know where Jeremy is. And we're going to bring one to Jeremy. So he can't avoid
I can't have an
Everbowl
excuse
because
why I haven't
that's
had an
not a good
Everbowl
excuse.
lately.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm gonna fix this, Jeremy. I'm gonna do what I gotta do here.
Awesome. Well, the thing, you tease about being a teenager, the fact that you guys have figured out so much of the supply chain and stuff. I just got back from a 45 unit brand that has hired some people from some brands that have grown from 50 to 200, 600, 500, and they're in that same stage as that growth stage of trying to figure it out. And so I love that you put that out there that you guys have figured some of the stuff out, but there's going to be stuff you guys are still going to stub your toe on and not make it not make it easy at first, but with communication and with value alignment. It's where you can figure it out and both of you guys can make money, as you said.
That's right. That's right. And that's the fun part of entrepreneurship, right? Is getting to do those things and being a business owner and doing it together. Because a lot of
Yep.
times you do it solo. And having the fact that we have, 50 other people that are in the same position as you, doing the same thing, charging up the same hill in their own community. What are the wins that we're winning? Where are the falters? And every day we get better. And mistakes are great once, twice as a choice. So
Hmm.
choose not to make mistakes. We'll make them. And I promise you we will. But just as fast as we make them, we're going to clean it up and we're going to solidify it. And together we're going to do it. And that's part of the story. So again, you got to want that part of the story. And where I've learned the most is you need to understand what your expectations are for this to be a win for you and see if Everbowl or whoever you're looking at can deliver that. And if the answer is
Makes
yes,
sense.
great. And vice versa. I want you to be a win for us. So if your expectations aren't met, you're not happy. And like
Hmm.
all things in life, we spend 90% of our time dealing with the 10% of the problem. So that is the problem. And I don't want to be a problem for you. And I want you to be happy with the business and the decisions. And I want you to be happy that you picked the right brand. And so it's very important you court whatever franchise, scrutinize, ask to speak to existing franchisees. And if they're lying, if they have no problems and they're perfect, run as fast as you
Yeah,
can.
exactly. Somebody's lying to you. All right, I'm gonna break it down real quick, Jeff. For those that have never been to an Everbowl, what is your go-to item that you would tell somebody to go get if they've listened for 35 minutes that we've been talking and they've never been? They see it in the shopping center, like, dude, I got to go check that out. What's the go-to, and then what's Jeff's special item because you've had it now for 10 years? You probably mix and match stuff for yourself over time, but I'd love for you to give everybody kind of what is your go-to. You're bringing somebody for the brand to the brand for the first time that they have to have that really makes it stand out.
Well, here's the beauty of that. And I wish I had a simple answer for you, but the answer is a medium or large bowl.
Okay.
You need to try all the samples. So you can ask for free samples of all the flavors so you can know what goes together, what you like. But if you like tropical, then I would go with the coconut or the mango or, the blue magic or the pitaya. And if you like more berry driven, then you're probably going to want to lean more towards the acai. But if you don't know and you've never had an acai bowl, you got to go acai. Go try the Everbowl. It's the mainstay. It's what this company was built off of, and it's acai. Add some granola, blueberries, strawberry, and banana. You can choose to sweeten it up if you want, or add a nut butter. But ultimately, that's our number one. I mean, that's what we sell the most of. Jeff's go-to, it changes because there are all these flavors, but I mean,
Uh-huh.
I've eaten thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of these bowls. I
My
even had
my wife grew up going to In-N-Out, and the way she orders In-N-Out is different than any other burger that she's
this.
ever made. I'm like, babe, this is the weirdest thing. But she grew up in high school and early college, working at In-N-Out when it was still like 50 stores. And so her and I joke about it. I'm like, I've never seen her eat a burger the same way, but she worked it in and out so many days that you end up coming up with stuff. So that's why I ask, especially restaurant founders, that where does that go?
And I'll tell you that. But first, I want to tell you, I just learned for the first time that In-N-Out gives free coffee through the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Did you know that? I did not know
Yes.
that. It's true. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
so my go-to right now, if I was going to go to Everbowl today, this is what I would do. I would order a half acai and half vanilla bowl, no granola. I want the goji berries in the base because they're chewy on top, but once they're in the base, they get cold and they snap. So I like that way they snap with cacao nibs, banana. And I sometimes do blueberry and I sometimes do strawberry. I don't usually do both. In the summer months, I tend to do strawberries. Like now, I'd probably do strawberry. The reason I don't do both is just because I feel like I don't get the full flavor of them too. So that's what I would do today is no granola, cacao nibs, and goji berries. I would want the goji berries first so they get cold in the freezing base, acai and vanilla. And today I would do bananas and strawberries. No honey, nothing else added. And I would do a large because go big
It's
or go home.
delicious.
Yeah, go big.
I
You always
love it.
want a little more. I'd rather have a little extra and not want it than want a little bit more.
Yeah. And have to deal with the Chick-fil-A line to get back in line to get
Oh, yeah.
another bowl,
By the way,
right?
you could also do this with our bowls. We went on QVC after COVID, and we used to sell later bowls. So you could actually order bowls from us in the base without the toppings and stick them in your freezer if you don't want to come visit us or you want to do meal prep. And we have listen, I'm self-serving. Here's a pitch. So this is a commercial. Order now and just wait. We'll give you 2 for the price of 1. Realistically, we've had tons of people who have ordered a couple to go for tomorrow or for later. They're great on airplanes. You put it in your freezer tonight if you have a flight tomorrow. You even put the fresh fruit on. You pull it out when you go to the airport. By the time you're sitting on that airplane, it's thawed out. It's so good on an airplane. There's no smell, and it's just rewarding. And everyone looks at you, and they are just jealous.
I love that. That's really cool. Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you for building a brand. And I say this wholeheartedly because I get a chance to talk to a lot of people on these episodes that truly is trying to make a difference, not just in the local communities, in the health of America, and just across the board. Because it probably would have been easier to start a burger concept, but
Probably. Amazing how many burgers people eat. So absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I'll
thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing the story. What was that?
I said I was made a joke. I said, I'll tell you what you did there, but you're going to download the app, Jeremy, and you're going to send me a picture in Dallas. You owe it to me.
I got to figure it out.
I'll pay for your
I was
bowl.
just on another tab on my browser.
It.
I figured out the closest store to the office. The closest store to here is probably 15 miles, so I might not be hitting it, but over by the office, I'll figure that piece out
and
for sure.
I'll pay for it. It's my treat.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you for jumping on. As I said at the onset, listeners, please go check out Everbowl. Really, really cool concept. Again, having gone with my best friend back when I lived in California, really, really cool. So, Jeff, thank you, and to our listeners, make it a great day.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.